You guys look like you've been covering this election for the last 5 years and you're doing okay.
I think we're just glad that we now know when the election is.
And I think that's by design. I'm sure they're keeping it very, very tight.
It is official, we are in general election mode at the Straits Times and on the usual place. It's been a week filled with days and dates to remember. So Parliament was dissolved on April 15, Nomination Day is on April 23rd, and Singaporeans head to the polls on May 3rd to elect 97 MPs across 33 constituencies. And this episode is your quick guide to everything you need to know about what happens when Singapore heads to the polls. I'm Natasha, host of The Usual Place, and to help me dissect all of this, I have Royston Sim, the Straits Times news editor, and Ng Wei Kai, a reporter who has been covering different political parties on the ground for the last few months. Welcome to the show, guys. Hello.
Hi, Nat.
You guys look like you've been covering this election for the last 5 years, and you're doing okay.
I think we're just glad that we now know when the election is. We've been gearing up for the election for a while now, ramping up. There were signs that the election was coming. And I think for many of us in the newsroom, we're just glad that finally there's some sense of certainty and that we know when Singapore is going to head to the polls.
I know, my feelings were cheated because some people said last year September and it's like 6-7 months on. But yes, we finally have a date. So I want to ask you, we have a couple of days before nomination day.
Yep.
What should voters look out for in this period leading up to that?
I think basically the political parties are really going to ramp up their outreach in the coming days. So I think we can expect a few things to happen. The first is that the different parties are going to ramp up the frequency of their walkabouts. I mean, the ruling party has already been doing this, on a very high clip, and I think the Workers' Party as well. But you would expect that for the other opposition parties, they would really step up the frequency of their walkabouts to reach out to the electorate, to the voters, go out to the different spots and really try and meet as many people as they can, try and win hearts and minds. So that's the first thing. Second thing would be different parties would also put out their election manifestos. Third thing would be introduction of candidates and also, telling the voters who is going to stand where. So the PAP has already started to roll out and introduce their candidates. I think almost half of the 33 constituencies that are at play. They did so for Tampines, Jalan Besar, Tampines Changkat, Potong Pasir yesterday. There were a few others, since the weekend, starting with Marsiling UT. So I think we can expect that to continue. For the PSP, they have been, they've indicated where they want to contest, but they've not firmed up or they've not announced who is going to stand where. So that's something that remains to be seen. We don't know. We'll have to see when they announce, who they're going to field in different constituencies. The WP, meanwhile, has been, they've kept their cards quite close to their chest, in terms of their new faces. Some of them have been introduced or put out to the media, but generally they've kept things pretty much under wraps, and likewise, in terms of who they plan to field in the different constituencies, it really remains a question mark at this point. And for the other opposition parties as well, some they've also started to announce their different slates. The Red Dot United did so for Jurong East, Bukit Batok, and Jurong Central last night. SDP has announced who they want to field in Sembawang West, in Bukit Panjang, in Marsiling UT. So we can expect more of that in the coming days leading up to nomination day.
So I have to ask you, why are political parties doing it this way? Like, why are some being very cautious about saying who's on their slate, or while others are, like the PAP, as you said, has already announced like some GRCs and what the candidates are, who the candidates are going to be?
For the PAP, I think the calculus is probably to, let the voters know early who's going to stand in their constituency and who their future MPs could be, so that there's some, you put it out early and voters can, recognize and know who their candidates are. And so I think they've started that process, earlier to try and get basic voters to know who the candidates are. For WP, I suppose it's probably more for tactical reasons that they are, keeping their candidates under wraps. I think they've been doing the outreach on the ground, reaching out to voters. But I suppose for the party, the thinking is that it's probably better to keep things close and not tip their hand too early, probably up till nomination day. So I wouldn't be surprised if, for many or most of their constituencies, especially those that they are contesting, like East Coast, Marine Parade, we are hearing
These
that...
are the hot GRCs,
yeah,
right?
or we are hearing that they would contest Punggol. We wouldn't be surprised if, you only find out who they actually plan to field on the day itself. Yeah.
Will we see surprises on nomination day?
I'm pretty sure we will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there any particular GRC where you think that people will be surprised by the candidate who will be standing there, or it's very hard to tell at this point?
I think people should look at any Workers' Party GRC and anywhere they are contesting specifically.
Because?
Because, as Roy said, and as they have done in previous elections, like ex-party chief Mr. Lau Tia Kiang's move to contest in Aljunied in 2011, you never know what they're going to do, and they are very tight-lipped. Yeah.
So I would say I think we in the newsroom are looking out, yes, definitely the Workers' Party, but also even for the PAP, I think it remains a question mark who they will field in East Coast GRC and Punggol GRC. They have, of course, they have some of the incumbent MPs out on the ground and some new candidates as well, but, I suspect we won't... we will only find out who they plan to field for sure on nomination day in these two constituencies. So even for the WP as well, I think really the what we'll be looking out for is who they will end up fielding in East Coast, which we expect to be very fiercely contested again. And for the new GRC of Punggol, which was created, in the latest EBRC report, and we will also be keeping a close eye on, who both parties field there. I think it's really not fixed at this point, and it's something we have to look out for.
So Wei Kai, you mentioned Mr. Lau Tia Kiang moving out of Hougang and to stand in Aljunied in 2011. This time around, there are rumors of leader of the opposition, Pritam Singh, moving out of Aljunied. What should people make of that? And do you think he will actually do it?
Honestly, no. And I think that's by design. I'm sure they're keeping it very, very tight. I'm sure most of the party does not know as well. Yeah, so...
Everything will be revealed on nomination day.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
It really is anyone's guess, whether he will stay in Aljunied, will he, follow in Lau Tia Kiang's footsteps in 2011 and, venture out. I think it's really a question mark, but I would not be surprised if the WP decides to send one of their sitting MPs out of Aljunied into East Coast to show up the East Coast team.
Should that move happen, what should voters make of this move?
I think it would signal that the WP is, sending firepower, heavy firepower to try and wrest East Coast from the PAP. So I think it will really be very interesting to see, the slate of candidates for East Coast for both the PAP and the WP as well.
So how have the political parties shown their cards or not as the GE heats up?
Now, the PAP has, started to introduce their candidates. So they've done this, since the weekend. They've done official candidate introductions in the different constituencies, starting with Marsiling UT GRC, the PM's ward, and they've continued this for Sengkang, Aljunied, Hougang, Choa Chu Kang, and so on. And yesterday there was Jalan Besar and Tampines. For the opposition parties, it's a bit more mixed. Some have come out to indicate where they want to stand and field candidates. The SDP, for instance, has already said that they will field Party Chairman Paul Tambia in Bukit Panjang. Party Chief Chee Soon Juan is going to move to Sembawang West, and they've announced their slate for Marsiling UT GRC. Red Dot United has started doing so. Wei Kai, what's your sense?
My sense so far is that the larger opposition parties, if we can say it that way, Roy put it well, the parties that have parliamentary presence, they've not... It feels as though they're waiting for the PAP to show their hand first. So we've not seen... They've come out to... the PSP, for one, has come out to say where they will stand. But as Roy said, they've only given us like teasers of who will stand. So we've only been able to really do more speculative things like put out stuff about who stood before and who were seeing at events. But for the WP, on the WP side, they haven't even officially said where they will stand this year. Yeah.
Yeah, there was a Fadli Fauzi actually came on the usual place, but he couldn't confirm if he was standing or where he was standing. So it was interesting about how the WP is playing it, as you guys have explained. So what can we expect in the next couple of days in the lead up to nomination day? Do you think they will continue to hold the cards very close to them, especially going into the weekend?
I think the WP will probably start to unveil their new candidates, and to tell and put out some of their election messaging, their manifesto. So I think that's something we can expect in the next couple of days. But I really don't think that they will say where they plan to contest, or rather who they will field in which constituency, and we won't find that out up till nomination day. I suppose the other thing to point out would be that even for the PAP, they have put out their slates in different constituencies, but anything can change all the way up to nomination day. So that's something that we in the newsroom will be keeping a very close eye on in terms of movements and who is actually going to be fielded where, come April 23rd.
Wei Kai, talking to people on the ground when you've gone to different constituencies, what do you think will be the hot issues at this election? Of course, we've heard cost of living, but will the recent geopolitical events, matter to voters when they go to the ballot box?
I think that's a really good question, and I think it depends on who you ask. I would say that by and large, because what's going on with US President Donald Trump's tariffs is so in flux, I actually think most people are not really that clued in as to how it will impact Singapore. I would say if you go out and you ask people, they're aware that it's happening, but what it means for them is not too clear yet. Yeah.
Really? Because I think the PAP leaders, the ministers have been talking a lot about it. A lot of speeches have been made. Do you think, as ordinary Singaporeans, we would not be clued in yet?
I think it's becoming clearer, and as in my opinion, the language has gotten stronger and stronger over the past few speeches. So as we head into the election, I think more people will be aware of what's going on, especially because it's not just the PAP ministers. I mean, global media and us as well, the coverage is all over the place. But I don't think it's sunk in as much as the cost of living has over the last few years. Yeah. So this is just based on speaking to people. So when we go block to block and talk to residents, nobody has mentioned geopolitics to me, unless I ask them specifically about it. Whereas if you ask them what's on your mind, they always say cost of living. Yeah.
So I want to talk about us for a little bit. Our ST colleagues have tracked political developments very closely for months now, including spotting many faces. Wei Kai, you've put out a few articles about that. How will ST actually cover the election leading up to polling day, especially when voters are looking for clarity, context, and real-time updates? So, Royston, tell me, what are we doing?
We have, since Tuesday, we started a live blog. So we have, a team of more than 10 bloggers, bringing live updates to readers every day. So we have reporters out on the ground. We have assigned reporters pretty much to every constituency. So they'll be out on the ground, getting updates, feeding it back to the team in the office. So we'll be updating our live blog, at a very, very regular clip. We've also started our GE microsite. So that's where, readers will be able to get all the news stories about the election, our analysis, our features, spotlights on which are the constituencies to watch. So everything is there. We've also started to roll out a special edition GE newsletter that readers can subscribe to. And we had started early in the year a new newsletter called Unpacked on Substack. And actually, Wei Kai is one of the authors of Unpacked. So maybe Wei Kai, you can talk a bit about tell us more about what
why you're doing
plans,
this. Yes,
the GE.
Okay, thanks. Just want to say it's not just me. Obviously there's another colleague, Yan Han, and Royston as well. Roy helps too.
It's a team effort.
It's a team effort, yeah. But so Unpacked is we started it because we felt that a lot of coverage, not just political, but political is especially during the GE, there can be a lot of information. And I think to the average person who maybe does not want to read every piece of news, it can be very overwhelming. So we wanted something that could cut through that, tell you what's summarize and pull out what's really important, and then put some analysis in as well, because traditionally we have quite a clean divide between news and analysis, and we wanted to put them in the same place. Yeah. And so what Unpack does is we piece out the biggest 3 political stories of the week, and then we put them into a more conversational style and put in some analysis, like a take of sorts of what this means to the reader specifically.
I have 2 questions. Where can people sign up, and how often can we expect an Unpack edition?
Unpack comes out every Monday at the moment, but of course now that we're in the GE period, we're planning a few special issues, so it will be more frequent, so that we can be more responsive to what's happening, like big things like nomination day. Yeah, and where can people sign up? Unpack is hosted on Substack, but you can find it through stories that we write, and the links are in Telegram, on our Facebook. Yeah, if you go through any ST stuff, you'll find the links.
Okay, I'll put it in the comments below so you can subscribe to the Substack newsletter then. But yeah, so you guys will be busy with a lot of things happening. So this is like are we on like a 24-hour news cycle in a sense? Or we'll sleep when the party sleep? Is that what it is?
Not quite a 24-hour news cycle, but certainly the day will start very early. And I think especially during the hustings period, it would be easily a 18-hour news cycle. I mean, the parties would start after nomination day, which is the first day of campaigning. The parties will start pounding the ground. There'll be walkabouts in the morning. There will be rallies at night. So at the Straits Times, we'll be live streaming every rally on our website, so readers can choose which rally they want to tune into. If they don't want to go down to the ground to watch the physical rally. All our coverage will also be put out on our different social media platforms, so Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, X, and Threads as well. So we'll
find us there.
Yeah, exactly. And I also want to put out a plug for our interactive graphics. So we've already rolled out a couple of them. So we've put out after the electoral boundaries report was released, we put out interactive on where readers can find basically which constituency they are in, because of the redrawn boundaries. So they just need to put in their postal code, and they can find out whether they are still in the same GRC or SMC, or if that's changed. And going along with that, there's a constituency hub page where you can get information about the constituency you're in, whether it's Aljunied or Marine Parade, Braddell Heights, what the new boundaries are. There's a map, what the demographics are like, because our colleagues crunched some of the demographic data, so you can there's data about the age profile, the type of housing that they live in. So all that's on the constituency hub page. And we have a couple more interactives lined up in the coming days. So we'll be putting out one pretty soon on frequently asked questions.
About voting?
About elections. In general.
Okay.
Yeah. And on nomination day, we will have interactive of the different candidate profiles, and who is standing where. And of course, on polling day itself and on polling night, we'll have live updates, on the sample count and also the results.
I will also be joining you guys from the studio.
Yeah. So Nat, what will you be up to during the hustings?
I'll be giving viewers a TLDR of what happened the night before, and a summation of what they can look forward to that day's events. And I'll also try to have guests on, reporters who are on the ground, to give our viewers a snapshot of what they are seeing on the ground. And then we'll try and get in a couple of analysts to make sense of what's happening, or who's standing, or events of the day. And hopefully a couple of candidates will come on as well. So I'm going live at 12 p.m. on YouTube every day after nomination day, all the way till polling day. Well, actually, it's cooling off day, so nothing happens on that day. So we'll end right before cooling day. So on polling night, I will be back again with my colleague Olivia, who will be co-hosting with me in the studio, and we will bring you all the latest updates from the sample count, and that will be our show for the night. And on that note, it is official, we are in general election mode at the Straits Times and on the usual place. We'll be here to guide you through key moments of GE 2025. So follow the Straits Times online and on social media. As Roy said, we are everywhere on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, LinkedIn, X. So wherever you are, we'll see you there. Bye.